You're listening to The Intellectual Investor, episode number 105, Amazon Pharmacy versus the Market and Distributors. To learn more about Vitaly's investing firm, IMA, go to imausa.com. Amazon Pharmacy versus the Market and Distributors. In this interview with Andrew Kloos on Investors Hub, Vitaly makes the case that concerns over Amazon's entry into the pharmaceuticals business are probably overblown. To parse this problem, Vitaly differentiates between pharmacies and drug distributors, and analyzes the extent to which Amazon can compete with both. While Amazon might place some pressure on pharmacies over time, he explains how drug distributors' unique supply chains should remain robust against a competitive threat from Amazon.
It's Amazon Pharmacy and its market interactions here on Investors Hub Market Vision. Hi, I'm Andrew with Investors Hub, and today we're going to be talking to Vitaly Katznelson. He's the Chief Investment Officer at Investment Management Associates, and he's going to be discussing the relationship between the new Amazon Pharmacy and drug distributors. See, he feels that some investors might be misunderstanding the nature of the relationship those two are going to have. He does a fantastic job of outlining the pretty complicated relationship between drug manufacturers and drug distributors and pharmacies. If you're watching from Investors Hub, be sure to click the link above me. If not, then just ignore that. But don't ignore this part. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you like the content. And without further delay, let's hear from Vitaly. So Amazon recently opened its new Amazon Pharmacy, but you have doubts that it can dominate the market. Why do you feel that way?
Well, so I think it's important to distinguish between a pharmacy and drug distributors. So there are a couple of things going on. So let's talk about pharmacies first, and then we'll talk about drug distributors, because I think that's a very different market. So number one, I think when it comes to pharmacies, I think the Amazon will be able to get some market share. However, if you think about it for a second, most of the consumption of drugs today is basically taken by people who are older, like probably in their 60s. And those people have habits that have been established for a long, long time. And those habits don't change very much. So that's point number one. So it's like if you own somebody like CVS or Walgreens, then, or even Walmart, if Walmart has a very large pharmacy, people that have been going to those stores, they're probably going to continue to do this. That's point number one about pharmacies. Point number two, it's also what complicates things that people are not the ones who are paying for drugs. Usually there is a insurance company who is actually writing the check for the drug. And therefore, what happens is that the incentives for people to save money are very minimal. And so their convenience is going to be the major factor that decides where people are going to be shopping for drugs. So if I need to get Tylenol, I might as well get it from Amazon. If I need to get something that is, if I need to give a prescription drug, then I'm probably going to go to the place I went to before. So that is a point number one. That relates to pharmacies. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, now let's talk about drug distributors. Okay, that is a very different market, and it's a very different discussion. So in the United States today, 3 companies, McKesson, AmerisourceBergen, and Cardinal Health, are basically they dominate this market. 3 companies probably have 90+% market share in the drug distribution. So let's talk about what is drug distribution. Drug distribution, basically, it's kind of a railroad from let's say Pfizer to a pharmacy. Pfizer does not want to distribute its own drugs because it doesn't have the scale to do this. So they contract with these 3 companies, and these companies basically take these drugs from all these pharmaceutical companies and take them to hundreds of thousands. I don't know how many pharmacies we have in the United States, probably close to 100,000 pharmacies in the United States, right? So drug distributors are basically making about 1.3% margin on average for distributing these drugs, okay? And so when Amazon goes into a pharmacy business, they're not going into drug distribution business. And this is very, very important. And let me give you a couple examples. Walmart, which is the 3rd largest pharmacy that has about pharmacy sales about $20 billion. is using drug distributors to buy their drugs. Because Walmart, if it buys directly from pharmaceutical companies, it would cost them more money. And the reason for that, because McKesson has sales of about 220, which is the largest drug distributor. And by the way, full disclosure, we own all of them. We own all 3 drug distributors. McKesson has sales of about $220 billion. Okay, so therefore, its buying power is so much greater than the buying power of any individual pharmacy. That is a point. That point is important. But it gets a little bit more complicated than this, because if you think about, there are 2 types of drugs that you basically have the drug distributors distribute, which is generics and branded. Branded drugs are basically Pfizer pays drug distributor a fee for distribution. So they pay him a fixed fee per pill or per bottle, whatever, to distribute their drugs. Okay, so it's a fee for service business. However, when it comes to generics, McKesson goes to a generic manufacturer and negotiates prices with them. The more drugs you buy from a generic manufacturer, the better price you get. So when McKesson has sales of $220 billion, and let's say about 30% of the sales come from generic drugs, so it's about $60 billion. So when it negotiates prices with generic manufacturers, it can get so much better prices than a company like Amazon that starts from zero. So my point is, Amazon has no structural advantage in this business. This business has, like I'm talking about not pharmacy right now, just drug distribution. This business operates in very thin margins, so it doesn't have a lot of inefficiencies, because these companies, that's all they do. That's their focus, drug distribution. Also, distributing drugs is a very unique business in the sense there's a lot of regulations. And also, different drugs require different type of distribution. You have drugs that have to be in a sub-zero temperatures, etc. So it gets very complicated. So it's not like distributing books or TVs or etc. So when every time Amazon announces that they're going to do something in the pharmacy space, these companies drop a lot. And every single time I laugh at this, and we just buy more of them.
Mm-hmm. So basically, Amazon is not competing with these companies, but people kind of assume they are?
Yes, because they hear the word pharmacy, and then, and they say pharmacy distributor, and but they just don't understand how these businesses work really. In reality, in fact, Amazon is going to be a customer. I forget. I think they will be using either Cardinal Health or AmerisourceBergen. I forget which one, but they will be a customer of one of those companies. And I would argue Amazon may become successful at selling Tylenol, but it's not. It's going to take a long time for it to become successful at selling like more complex drugs or prescription drugs. It's not like I would not assume overnight success, like Amazon had selling books.
So if Amazon decided to become its own distributor, what sorts of qualifications would it need to have in order to do that?
Well, it could start doing it. I'm sure they can figure out the logistics of that. But when it comes to generic drugs, there would be, for instance, subscale. Because again, McKesson buys $60 billion worth of these drugs. Amazon will be buying tens of millions of dollars worth of these drugs. So when they come to Mylan Labs or Teva, they'll get a much worse price than they would get if McKesson buys it. Number one. Number two, if I was Pfizer, I would probably tell Amazon to get lost, because why? They already have a relationship with 3 companies. Why have another 4th one? There is absolutely no logic. There is no reason behind to do that. Because Amazon is just another. I know it's a great company, etc. But the clout it has in selling books and selling everything else it sells does not really translate into Pfizer is not going to look at it differently and say, oh, I'm going to give you the same price I'm giving McKesson for these drugs.
Amazon exists in the space where they're selling directly to consumers. What sorts of stocks do you like that exist in that drug to consumer space?
It's a more complex question because there was this, basically you have two pharmacies in the United States today, like publicly traded, which is CVS and Walgreens. CVS used to be kind of a direct competitor with Walgreens, and then it went. It's a broad PBM company, pharmacy benefit management company, and then it bought an insurance company. So suddenly it turned into something else. It became almost like a vertically integrated company, and I think if CVS succeeds in this vertical integration, which is a very difficult thing to accomplish, it may be successful. We don't own the stock because it's an if question, which I don't know the answer to. Will they succeed or not? Because what they're trying to do is very complicated. We still have a small position in Walgreens. And I think Walgreens, Walgreens execution in general. What we discovered during the pandemic, that Walgreens online efforts were lagging its competitors. And right now it tries desperately to catch up. And so I have a kind of wait and see approach with Walgreens. I want to see how their online efforts are going to develop. And then, so we own a small position in Walgreens, but I don't have a strong feelings towards that, towards the company. So what I think is more interesting is actually drug distributors in my mind. Because again, this is obviously, this is more like, it's not direct to consumer. This is a manufacturer to pharmacy business, right? And you look at these companies, they have great return on capital, great credit cash flows, great balance sheets. They are either buying back stock, they're growing about, the revenue is growing about maybe 3 to 5% a year. The margin is probably not going to change, but they're buying, like if you look at McKesson, it's buying back a lot of its stock. So it actually can create a 10% earnings growth just between revenue growth and share buybacks. And today you're paying $180 for a company that I think in our estimates about 4 years could generate about $20 of earnings. This is a incredibly high quality business that's going to be around 5 or 10 years from now, or 20 years from now. It's not going to change very much. And this company should be trading not at 9 times 2024 earnings, but should be trading at 17 times earnings. So I can see how this $180 stock could become a $300 stock easily. So that's probably, again, we own Cardinal Health and AmerisourceBergen as well. And their stories are very similar to that.
Thanks for watching. If you like the content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon.
Thank you for listening. This and other investment articles by Vitaly Katsenelson are based on value investing principles that were first brought down from the mountain by Benjamin Graham and later were popularized by Warren Buffett. To learn more about these principles, visit investor.fm and listen to the first episode of this podcast, titled The 6 Commandments of Value Investing. To learn more about how Vitaly's investment firm uses these principles to create low-risk, long-term oriented portfolios, visit imausa.com. Enjoy life and prosper.